Hello again, guys. Hope you're all doing well. I'm glad to see that you've been enjoying the last couple of videos I've done again, especially that one I recorded earlier this morning of the advanced painting effects, or the more complicated ways you can paint your skin to add a greater effect to the paintwork. I'm pleased you enjoyed that. I've had some really good positive comments again back from that, so that's always good. So thanks very much for your feedback. I always appreciate it, and it's always good to hear how you guys are getting on and what you'd like to see with regarding to the skins. This video here, it's going to be hopefully it's not going to be a little bit longer. It does have the potential to be. What we're going to try and create is a what I'll call like a Chris Sign style chrome effect in this word here on this skin. I've just started again. It's a Wreckfest Frog Eye Saloon. I'm going to use these for most of the videos as it's a nice template to paint. I like them a lot. So yeah, so this S Morgan motors here, we're going to do not the motors, just the S Morgan in this Chris Signs chrome effect. So I've got this picture here of what I'm talking about if you don't already know. So this appeared a couple of years ago, as I said in the previous video. I think it was the 2018 World Final. Everyone went crazy for it, and every car seemed to have something similar to this on. Which is this sort of chrome effect with this inner white pinstripe that we've got, running around here. So we're going to try and create something similar to this in this writing here. This is going to be quite a complicated effect to create. There's quite a lot going on in the text, as you'll see later on. It's not the simplest of effects to create. It's going to take a little while. It's going to be quite a few layers. But yeah, I'm going to do my best. Obviously, I'll do my best to explain it. We're going to do it all in real time, so you'll be able to see exactly how long it takes me to do it. And then, as I said, but this is a relatively advanced effect to be putting in text, and it's not just smack a gradient in. There's going to be a lot more work than just that to it. So obviously I'll do my best to explain it as well as I can as we go along. But if there is any other questions or anything I haven't covered in this video, then obviously feel free to let me know, and I'll do everything I can to explain that in the future. Okay, but to start off with, let's just have a little look at what we're working with here. So I've got the text already mapped out. The font I'm using here, just so I'll let you know, this is a traced one of a Chris Signs car. I thought I'd use that because obviously we're replicating his sort of effect. This Motors is actually off a Dom Davies car, who, yeah, he sent me through the picture a little while ago, and I traced that. Again, what I'll do is I'll attach both of these, the signs, the thanks to and the motors, on a Google Drive, and attach that to the video. As I said, I'm not going to be hiding stuff away from you guys, so I'm using it in the video, so I'll upload that, and you can then use that. And this font here is a Letterheads font one. It's quite a nice one. I think it's called Tallington, Tallington, Tallington regular. And then what I've done is I've stretched the width of it quite a lot. When you initially type the font, I'll just show you. So let's just, I don't know, just write signs or something like that. And if we make it obviously bigger, you can see what I mean about it's quite a condensed font. So yeah, what you need to do, let's just quickly, before we go any further, we can just change the colour of it to white so we can see what we're doing. Yes, obviously Control T, and then if you hold on this button, normally on my Photoshop, this will grow it in proportion. But what we want to do is we want to stretch it out. So if you press the Shift button while you're holding on this edge one, then you can stretch it. So you can see there that I've probably stretched it to about there. And then I've also put a skew on it. If you don't know how to do that while you've got the text layer selected, you just want to go into Edit, Transform, Skew, and then if you don't skew it, it's just leaning the text. So obviously you can lean it that way, you can lean it that way, but yeah, obviously I've just lent it that way. So that's how I've got that looking. So again, this font is called LHF Tallington. There it is up there, you can see it. I'm sure you can download it for free. I actually bought this font off their website. It was relatively expensive. I think it was about £40, but I'm sure if you were if you looked on Google for long enough, you could find it as a free version. But yeah, that's the fonts I'm using, and as I said, I'll attach the other bits in on a link to the video as well. So let's get started because it is going to take us a little while. So to start with, what I'm going to do is this is my S Morgan layer. I have made the S slightly bigger. I've done that as a separate text thing just so it makes it a bit of a different effect, and then I've grouped that all into a smart object. So to start with, we're going to make a gradient overlay. I've already had a little go before I started the video at this, but what I'll do is I'll just select a simple one, and then we'll go from there. So I've got my reference image down here so I can have a think of the colours. So we'll open up the gradient window, and we'll start obviously white being at the top, and then we can have a play. So we want to start right at the top with a blue. You can always use the paint dropper tool to pick up blues off your images. Obviously it's not quite right, so it's a bit more brighter, somewhere around there looks good, and then it goes into a slightly lighter blue right at the bottom here. So we'll just create that there. Obviously this comes down a lot further. something like that. Then it goes into a brown. As you can see, this has got like a sort of rippled effect. We will put that in, but for the moment what you want to do is just select a nice dark brown. Again, these are the color codes down here. If you do want to, just pause the video and then you can copy them. Because it's a little bit longer today, I'm not going to stop and go through each of them, but these are the ones I'm using, so feel free to pause it and then you can have a copy. So we'll just drag this down so it becomes tight. It's easy to go a little bit too far, so make sure you don't do that. Just go to there, and then we'll have that distinct line, and then from there it goes into an orange, quite a deep orange, somewhere probably around maybe a little bit more yellow than that, somewhere around. No, it doesn't look quite right, does it? Let's have a go. I reckon around there. I'm quite happy with that. So again, you can copy that color code if you want to, and then from there it goes into like a golden yellow. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that one. Again, there's your code down the bottom. So now we've got this looking as it does. Let's just click OK on that. Obviously, you can see we need to scale this all up. It doesn't look right at the moment. Obviously, when you're on the gradient window, you can actually move it up and down just like that, which is quite helpful for scaling it. But for the time being, obviously, I can see that we need to bring this yellow right up, something more like that, which looks a bit better. And then obviously, let's just zoom out once we've okayed that and just check. Yeah, okay, so it does need to, we need to change the angle of it a little bit. As I did angle this text to fit in scale with the car, so we do need to angle the gradient as well. You can do this just here in the angle section. I think about 91 should be okay. Yeah, that fits a bit better with what we're working with. So that's starting to look a little bit better. Let's just have a little look. Yeah, no, that looks absolutely fine. What I'm going to do with this as well is I'm going to create an inner glow. On this one, let's just have a look. Here it is. So we'll take the choke right down. It's a little bit too high, and we're going to set this to a white color. The size of it we can make a little bit more, maybe about there, but then we're going to take the opacity right down. We're going to set it at about 34%, maybe a little bit more. So what we're creating here is this section on the outside of the white line. It is just slightly lighter in colour in areas, and there's a lot of detail in that which we will add in, but for the moment we're just going to put it in. So we tend to choke up a little bit, somewhere around there looks good. So 68% and 12 pixels, but again you can just base it off what you can see here, obviously for your end. Right, lovely. So I'm pretty happy with that now. So that's that part done. Obviously what we're going to do now is we're going to look at, we can obviously add the shadow and the outline if you want to at this point. So to do that, you just obviously click stroke, set this to relatively thin. I mean, it's probably going to be looking somewhere around 5 pixels on this one, and then obviously the drop shadow size to 0, untick the use global light, distance until you've got it somewhere that you're happy with. I mean, to be honest, probably about there looks good. If you get this, you can always fill in those gaps with the paintbrush if you want to later, but that doesn't look too good either. So we're going to take the distance bound down a bit. I mean, somewhere around there looks good to me. So obviously it doesn't look right yet, but we'll get to adjusting this in a bit of detail in just a second. So that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that so far. So if we zoom out, this is what we've got at the moment. So right, what we're going to do next is we are going to let's have a little think. What we're going to do next is we're going to start adding the shadowing in here. So you can see all of the complex. We've got the blacks, we've got white, we've got different colors. We've got a lot of detail going into this surround bit and also this ripple effect. So to start with, we're going to create a new layer. So Control, Shift and N, and then we'll just call this Airbrush 1. Here we go. And then just create that again, normal layer. Grab our brush tool, make sure it's obviously set to normal here. The size of it wants to be relatively small, really. You obviously want to scale it up to this gap you've got here. So I'm going to go for about, let's see, 10 pixels. Looks good for me. And then we're going to set the flow. You can set the flow to 50%. I think for this one will be absolutely fine. So let's just scroll down again, always going off our reference picture. Let's just set that back. So what we're going to start doing is we're going to start adding the black at the tops of the letters, and then also we're going to add this ripple effect. So we'll add this ripple effect first because that's relatively easy to do. So what we want to do is grab our paintbrush again, just as we spoke about, and then if you hit the Alt key, can you see it brings up the eyedropper, so then you can grab the exact colour you want to go with, and then we can start adding that. For the sake of this, we are going to change the feature slightly, so we're going to set the hardness to 100, and then we're going to set the flow to 100, so we know we're working exactly with the right colour here. And then holding the shift key, we're just going to create a rippled effect in the text here, just like this. Again, holding the shift key down to create straight lines in each of the letters. So we'll just do this quickly. Again, I'm doing all of this video in real time, so I'm not going to spend ages getting this right, but we can obviously have a look, and then you can spend more time in the future if you wanted to, fiddling around getting it to look perfect. But again, just creating, holding the shift key down at all times to create these straight lines. We can just add this sort of rippled effect in, which Chris would have done with the airbrush. Obviously, we're replicating that using this paintbrush tool. Fill that in there. Lovely. And obviously, while I'm just doing this, I will say again, yeah, thank you for all the feedback you have given me. It's really exciting. It looks like the videos are going to be featured on a few websites. We've had various people contact me over the last couple of days, which are looking to publish and use the videos on their various websites as tutorials for people. And obviously, I said to everyone who's contacted me, of course, that's absolutely fine. I'm more than happy for you to share the videos. Obviously, as long as you give me some sort of credit, so it's not, you're saying you've done them yourself. It's come from myself at Wash Those Times. But apart from that, feel free to use the videos. They're made for you guys to be a help. So everyone that needs to see them, I'd love to be able to see them. That's my end goal anyway. So that would be great. Right, let's have a look. So we've just got to the end now. That's absolutely great. So if we zoom out now, we can start to see we've got more of this rippled effect going on. So it is a bit of a, it's not the best of, gradients. So what we can do to stop that is if we get let's have a look, the blur tool. Is this the blur tool or is this the smudge one? I can never remember. No, this is the blur tool. That's perfect. We can either use that or the smudge, but in this situation, we will use the blur. We'll set it to about, in this, we'll do it at 30. Oh, not 2. That's no good. 30, there we go. And then we'll put the strength to 100 because we do want to blur it quite a lot here. And then if you just run this across the bottom, there you go, of your text, you can see how that very quickly just blurs it in to the colours already on the document. Again, as I said, if you are finding this all very confusing and just a bit too complicated, I do understand this isn't a simple effect at all, as I've said multiple times in the video, but I will continue to say this isn't what I'd describe as like a beginner's effect to be trying to create. It is relatively complicated, and it will cause me a bit of head scratching, as you'll find out throughout the video. So if this is all too confusing for you, then obviously by all means don't worry, it's something that you'll probably pick up. If you've just started painting the skins, I wouldn't bother trying to create this straight away, but by all means give it a go. Obviously I'd love for you to give it a go, and if you are happy with what you've done, then by all means post a picture. I'd love to see your work. Obviously here you can see at certain areas it's just come away, so I'm just neatening this back up with a brush tool again. Now we've blended that all in, that's looking a lot nicer. But yeah, just touching that back up again here. So that's looking really good. That's given us the rippled effect that we were looking for. So yeah, it's starting to take shape. I don't know how far we're into the video yet. I hope you guys aren't too bored. But yeah, it may be, hopefully not too much of a long one, but it may be a relatively long one. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to get the eraser tool now, because I'll explain what we're about to do. If you can see in the example, you've got the, I'll zoom out a little bit, you've got the wiggly bit we've just created, and then the other side of this white dividing line. It's a bit higher up. Can you see that in all of it? So we're going to create that now by just erasing with our eraser. Let's zoom out a little bit. So the shortcut's E on the keyboard, or you can just select it off the toolbar here. Obviously that's way too big. We'll set this back to the 10 pixels we're using. The hardness, yeah, we can set the hardness to probably 100%, to be honest. And the flow, we're happy with that. So if we just click here and then down, then that will rub out that part, and we'll do that on all of these. Again, using when we created that outer, or sorry, the inner glow, we can use that as a sort of guideline of where to go to. That hasn't quite gone enough, that one. There we go. And then the same in all of the letters. And then what we'll do is we'll just using exactly the same technique we have, we can place this, place the brown back in again, just a little bit higher up. Obviously, as I said, as I am doing this in real time, there is going to be stages where it is just a bit boring repeating the same process. Obviously, I do apologise about that, but I wanted to do it in a time so you could, one, show you guys how long it actually does take to create these effects, and it just gives you a bit of a better idea of how long one it's going to take me. This is the first time I've done this effect, if I'm honest. All of this is I'm just doing it from ideas, so it's not it's not something I've done 100 times. Obviously, using Photoshop, I'm probably more adapt to using it than some of you guys, but apart from that, this isn't an effect that I've done before, so do bear with me. But also, it should be a better indication because it will show you how long it takes me at least before you guys have a go. So now what we're going to do is, obviously, we're creating this brown higher up. So there we go, just add some dots, and then what we'll do is we'll use the smudge tool to create this effect in there. So we'll do a little one there as well. We'll zoom out a little bit, we've gone a little bit too far in, and then using the brush tool, we'll just add one there, there, there. And obviously, as we said, you can see quite clearly for yourself the effect we're creating here. Obviously, at the moment, yes, it is only dots, but we'll get to addressing that in just a second. Lovely. So what we're going to now do is grab the smudge tool. So it's the shortcut on the keyboard is S. We've used it before in videos, we've talked about it, but we're going to set again, we'll set this to 12 pixels, hardness can stay at 0, strength we want that to be probably 100 to be honest on this. What we're going to do is just grab this and, oh no, my mistake, strength, that is way too hard, let's set that at 40%. There we go, and then just drag it down like this, and that'll create that smudged effect. This is the way we're going to be doing a lot of the rest of this. So I'll repeat it. I'll just show you once, and then for the rest of it, I'll probably just do it and get on with it. But obviously, this one it's a little bit more complicated. So you want to sort of drag it around. It will take a few drags to get it to the area that you want it, something like that. And now you can see how those dots turn into something slightly better looking. The smudge tool is a great one. I mean, you can use it in loads of different situations. I mean, personally, for when you're doing like the chrome outlines, I often get a lot of questions about that. I'm planning to do anyway a separate video about doing those chrome outlines. But to be honest, it is exactly the same technique as what I am using now, with just creating a dot and dragging it. I know Carl Smith's done tutorials on it in the past, and he's got links to that. I mean, I don't want to tread on any toes, but I will do a similar tutorial anyway to his. And then again, now we've dragged all of those. Oh no, we haven't. Sorry, that's my mistake. We haven't actually dragged all of them. We've still got the ones in this S to do. So let's just do those. Let's drag these down as well. And then what we'll do is we'll just, because there are circles at the top, and if you look on the real one, they don't look like circles. What we'll do is we'll just grab the eraser tool, again as we have before. Let's make sure it's all flow, we'll set to 100% this time, and then just using shift and the straight line, we'll just cut those all off. So that looks a bit better than it did anyway. Something like that. If you understand what I'm doing, just giving them a straighter edge, as that looks a bit more realistic to what it was in the one we're copying. There we go, something like that. Right, so that's starting to take shape. Now it's always helpful to zoom out and have a look at what you've got, and obviously compare that to what we're doing here. So the next thing I'm going to do, what I may try and do is pause it and then continue, as otherwise it's just going to take so long. But I'll do one part here, so you can see all these black, which I'm referring to, in the white. It's basically just adding the shading around the letter. So I'll do it on one letter, this S, and then what I'll do is I'll pause the video. I'll do the rest of the letters, and then we'll come back and have a chat about it. Otherwise, the video is honestly going to go on for so long, and it won't be an interesting watch. So I'll start doing it here. So it's exactly the same procedure that we've done before. Obviously, this time you're going to be selecting black, but it's just with the brush tool, just doing a dot. We'll do 2 dots here. It's along the bottom. It seems to go to be black. Again, just keep referring to your images here. That looks pretty self-explanatory. Okay, across the top it is black as well, so we'll do that. Black, black. Lovely. And then let's just have a look. How do they do it in the top of the letters? Okay, Chris does black there as well. And then there is also some white in there, but we'll have a look at doing that in just a second once we've added the black in. So we will add a couple of bits of orange as well, and some white. So just select this orange using the marker, and then just make it a little bit darker. It just helps to add a few of these sort of colours around. Again, as we said, it is all going to be a bit of trial and error really with this, but we can. What we'll do now is we'll grab the smudge tool. Again, collecting S on the keyboard. We'll make it a little bit bigger this time. So obviously at the moment it was at 12, so we'll set it to let's try 15. If that's not big enough, we'll go up to 20. But now we can just, yeah, that's better. Start to just drag this around here. And obviously you can see this really does now start to create that effect. We can do it on these gold layers as well. You can always just sort of, it is a bit of a a trick learning how to use this smudge tool, but then when you've got it, you can obviously see the effects you can start to create in the bottom of these layers. So we'll just pull this black one around here and up there, smudge it off there and smudge it off there. Lovely. And then as soon as we've done this, what we'll do is we'll create a new layer, and then we'll go into that one with the white. If we put the white on this one as well, it's probably going to pull a little bit, so we don't want to do that. So we'll do that as a separate layer. But yeah, we'll just start to play these. Like that, and then bring this one down. So you can start to see it taking shape now. Something like that. That's giving that effect, and now, as I said, what we'll do, we could add a bit more black in here, to be honest. Let's just get black back there with our brush tool in there, and then in there as well, and go back to the smudge tool. Like that, and then just the same in this corner lastly. Like that, lovely. And then just pull that out a little bit. So it is a case of trial and error and just getting it till it looks right. But now what we'll do is we'll just create a new layer above the airbrush layer, call it airbrush 2, lovely, and then exactly the same situation, but this time we're just going to be using lighter colours, so we'll do a white, get the paintbrush up, do a couple of white dots up in the top here. There is a couple of areas where Chris does use white. It is just a case, as I've said, of just there's a lot going on in the letters, so it's a case of just getting it to look right, obviously constantly referring back to your image. You can see there's white there, white up the top, white there, white there. There's a lot a lot of white going on, so we'll put one there as well. Obviously you can always change the brush size, so if we let's set this down to 5 pixels, and we can add, say, a smaller one, and if you wanted to, maybe let's just put a smaller one, where can we put one, maybe just in the middle there. It can just create a nice effect. So then back to the smudge tool, and just exactly as we have been previously, just smudging out these lines to blend in with everything else. You can see there, just using that smaller size is quite effective, just to mix it up a little bit. And the same down here. Again, the smaller one looks really good. Actually, I quite like that smaller effect there. Lovely, and then we have something like that. I mean, this top bit is a little bit too bright, if I'm honest, but that's absolutely fine. We can live with that. Oh, just got this one here to do. And obviously with this top one, where maybe I think it's too bright, you can always grab your eraser tool and just get rid of that, just like that, and then go again. So what I'll do is I'll use the smaller brush size, and we'll just do two smaller ones like that. I think that'd look better. Back to the smudge tool, drag that out that way. That way, something more like that, and then you can always just put a couple of white dots in the middle there. Yeah, something like that I think looks a bit better. Right, so just back again, constantly referring back to our image here. So there's a bit of orange going up. I mean, we can keep playing with it, but I'm pretty happy with how that's turned out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to then create this number, or this letter, sorry, so it's finished, and then obviously you can apply that effect to other letters, but otherwise the tutorial is going to go on for too long, and I don't want to keep pausing it and stopping it. So we'll create the final effect in this letter, and then obviously you can apply this to other letters you do. So what I'll do now is we're going to draw this white line round. So I'm sure there's lots of different ways you could do this. I'm going to do it, I think, the easiest way, which is just using, again, the brush tool. It's what I would think would be the easiest way anyway. You could do it with the pen tool, definitely, but I personally don't think that would be the simplest way. So the way I'm going to do it is what I'll say easiest. So we're going to create, again, another layer over airbrush 2, and we'll just call it pinstripe. Have I spelled that right? No, my spelling is terrible. It's always used to be my Achilles heel when I was out painting the cars. I could never spell the words. I mean, you can probably ask anyone who's had me paint for them over the years that at some point they said, "Oh, that's not how you spell that," and it's always like, "Oh no." So you rub it all off and start again. But right, so for this one, we're going to go for a size 4 brush. It's the flow and opacity is going to be at 100. Hardness is at also 100, and white. And then basically what we're going to do is just draw around the line we basically made. So with the curves, again, carry on holding the shift button. I think actually, you know what, 4 may be just a tad big, so we're going to undo all of this. If you don't know how to undo quickly, it's just Control Z on the keyboard. So we're going to go for a 3 instead, as it is quite a fine line. There we go, that looks a lot better. So holding shift, obviously with the corners, you can take as much time as you want to get them looking good. As with any of these videos, I'm not spending hours, as I'm in a relative rush to get them done. And then there to there. Quite a lot of it is just the straight lines, but obviously some of it you can are going to be curves. It depends obviously as well on the font you're using. Some fonts are going to be more curvy than others. I mean, most of the effects he does on this are on quite a square font more like this one, which is why I picked it. But obviously you can create, or you can get more curvy fonts. He's been doing it quite recently on a lot of I see Sonic's P5s. He's got this sort of effect, and it's in a lot more of a, it's like an old school sort of font, which actually looks pretty cool. I do like that. Right, so there you go. You've drawn that basic line around there, which looks pretty good. And now we've just got to do these little sections that come off it. So what we'll do is you just obviously grab the point and then to the corner like that. Also, what we'll do is we'll do it on the outside corners in this shape, and then we'll make it a little bit smaller and do the inside ones in another size. So that looks pretty good. Then what we'll do is we'll just drop this to a size 2 brush. Obviously, depending on what you're dealing with, you can do it in different sizes. Oh, done that. Right, so now we'll just draw these little lines in the size 2, as it does look like on Chris's one. I'll show you in just a sec. It looks slightly smaller. But yeah, let's have a look. So is that all of them? Have I missed anything? No, it doesn't look like it. So there is yeah, a relatively, I think it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. We just missed a bit up here that we can just rub out. There we go. I'm pretty happy with that as an effect. That looks pretty cool. I think you'd agree. So we can just scroll out a little bit there, and obviously you can put the starburst in if you like. And obviously now you can go back, because you've done it all as separate layers. You can turn off the pinstripes. You could add more of these colours if you wanted to. So maybe add some more details to them. And obviously you can turn off these as well. So you see how it looks without the white. Add the white. See how it looks without that. So that, yeah, you can see that gives it that effect that we're looking for. So that's one letter done. As I said, it is an advanced effect. It's not the most simple of ones to do. As you can see, it's taken me a while just to do that one letter. But what I'll do is I'll end the video here. Obviously, I'll finish off the word, and I'm sure you'll see the skin finished at some point. But yeah, that's how we're creating that chrome effect. If you wondered how to do it, or if you wanted to do it, that's the way that I'll go about doing it. It does look cool. But yeah, it certainly is a lot of work to create it. But I hope you found it helpful. Obviously, as I've said many times throughout the video, this is one for the probably more experienced skin painters out there. But if you fancy a challenge, go ahead, give the Chris Signs Chrome, we'll call it, a go, and feel free, obviously, as ever, to post what you've done on the page, and we can all have a look and see if these videos have hopefully helped you. So thank you very much again for watching, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your days.